Hi everyone and welcome back to Fandom Vintage. My name is Lily and today I wanted to show you how I made this Fascinator hat based on the character No Face from the film Spirited Away. Alright, so to start, I've got a couple of materials. I have this premium felt, which is thicker than your normal craft felt, although craft felt could work just fine in this case. I have a bit of white glue, and any school glue, white glue, a PVA base glue is fine. And then, hello, she is really into all of my stuff today. Now, I would recommend having something that you would like the shape of your hat to be. It could be a bowl, it could be a plate. I personally 3D printed out a hat block. This is printed in PLA, so I wouldn't be able to steam directly onto this because it would warp the plastic. So unlike a wooden hat block, this would not be able to withstand the heat, but it does work well for this PVA method that I like to use. If you would like to print out one of these yourself, I will go ahead and link it down below for you. And a bowl with a bit of water inside. And that is what we're going to be using to mix with our glue to make our hat stiff. So I have several different colors of felt that I will be using for this project. I have this white thicker felt that I will be using for the base of the hat, a purple felt, and this is just a craft felt, so it's a little bit thinner to embellish the hat, some black felt as well, and I wanted to make some bath tokens out of felt to adorn the hat with, so I have a little bit of red and yellow felt as well. One thing I almost forgot to mention, I also have a bit of cling film just to line my work area and also some extra cling film to go over my hat block just to protect it from the glue and so that I can reuse it for other hats in the future. Alright, so to start I have my mold or hat block. So I'm going to be covering this in cling film to protect the work surface. It doesn't have to be perfect, just to keep the felt from gluing itself onto the hat block itself. And set that aside. Now, next thing we have is the bowl of water. I have it filled with maybe about a half a cup of water, and we will be putting in about an equal amount of PVA glue. And this doesn't have to be too exact. The more glue you put in there, the stiffer the fabric will be, and the less, the more flexibility it'll have. So that's kind of up to you. I like to go for a 1-to-1 ratio, but you can do more or less depending on how you like. Alright, so I'm just going to use the back of my paintbrush here. So once that's all in there, just go ahead and mix it up really well. Make sure everything is homogeneous at this point. Alright, so now it is all mixed up. What I'm going to do is take the white felt and completely saturate the entire thing in the glue and water mixture. So now I have it here. It is pretty saturated, and so I'm just going to wring out a little bit of extra. Now at this point, I'm going to take my hat block back over here and set the felt right on top and turn the hat block upside down so we have the bottom side up. And from here, we're going to be stretching and wrapping the felt around the hat so that it can dry in that shape. Now, to hold this in place, you can use things like binder clips. I have these fabric clips that are really handy, both for sewing and for crafts. So the best method I have found so far is doing a north, east, south, west clip first, just to get the four corners of the hat nice and snug first. Now make sure to stretch the felt as much as it can go to either side so you get a nice snug fit, and then just going and clipping the corners, trying to go as symmetrically as you can and stretching as you go so that way you can try to eliminate any wrinkles on the way. Now once that is completely clipped down, just let it sit and dry. It might take overnight. If it is warm outside, I like to put it outside just to speed up the process, and I will see you once it's completely dry. And we're back. So I've given this plenty of time to fully and completely dry. It's still on the mold right now, so I'm just going to be able to take that right off. It is curled underneath, but there's not too much glue to where it's too stiff to take off. And we have just our hat here. It's still in the same shape. The underside is a little bit wrinkled, but that is fine because that's going to be tucked underneath. And you can always cover it up with a nice piece of ribbon so that you don't see it at all on the inside. So now you can see it's pretty solid from just a piece of felt, but it's still soft enough to where it's a little bit flexible, and so we'd be able to wear it like so. Now I have this printout of No Face that I made, and this was made in a 7-inch circle to match the size of the hat. So what I'm going to do is just cut these shapes out and cut them out in the corresponding shapes. So the eyes and those little under eye bags and the mouth will be in black felt, and these triangular shapes will be in purple felt. So when I was cutting out the shapes out of the paper, I actually opted to use an X-Acto knife. You can use scissors if you'd like, but I wanted to use this template of the mask as a kind of guideline where to felt the pieces onto the hat afterwards. And with that negative space that was cut out, I had placed it onto the hat and traced it with a pencil so that I would have kind of a guideline to see where I would put the felt and where it should go. So I had it facing upward. My hat is thicker on the upper side and thinner on the bottom side. So I made sure that it was oriented correctly before I put the template on. So what I'm going to do now is felt these pieces onto the top of the hat. So how I'm going to do that is use a felting needle. This looks just like a normal needle. It comes in packs. This particular one is one where you can remove the needle and it goes into a wooden shaft. The special thing about these needles is that it has these barbs on the end, which is what helps to tangle and mat all of the fiber and to felt everything together. That way you get more of a seamless finish and it looks a little bit more polished than just hot gluing these pieces of felt on. So if you remember earlier, when we took the hat off of the mold, it was still kind of wrinkly inside. There's some extra fabric. What I'm going to do is trim that aside. A lot of times in hats, what's used is ribbon to go along the inside rim of the hat and to hide that seam. I wanted to keep this as a fully felted project, so what I'm going to do is, instead of using a ribbon, just use a small strip of felt. This can be hand sewn in or hot glued in. It doesn't really matter, that's just kind of up to your preference. So now that everything is felted onto the hat, it is time for the embellishments. So what I wanted to do was make little felt versions of the bath tokens that you see in the film. So to make that, I have some red felt, some yellow felt, and some black felt. Now in the film you see that the bath tokens have so many different designs and symbols on them, things like different stripes, dots, and triangles. So I'm just gonna kind of play around with it and see what design I like. So first thing to do is to cut out several rectangles with the red felt. I'm going to make mine about 3.5 to 4 inches, just so that they're big enough to fan out behind the hat and to really be able to get shown off behind there, but not too big that it kind of overtakes everything. So after cutting out the rectangles, the next thing is just to cut out the embellishments with the yellow and the black felt, and just like we did on the hat, just to felt it on with the felting needle. Again, this can be done with hot glue as well, but the felting needle I think gives it just a bit of a nicer finish. So I just finished felting the little bath tokens here. So as you can see, I have them with little designs on each of them, but I found that because of the felting, it did come out through the back where you poke the felting needle. So I wanted to cover that up because you will be able to see that on the back of the hat. So what I'm starting to do now is just taking the pattern and redoing it on the back side as well. So I have this strip here, like this one here. So I'm just felting it on the back just so I can reproduce it on the back. And like I see in a lot of traditional Percher Fascinator hats, I did want to add kind of a little bow to it, and to do that I'm going to use just some white felt to cut out a strip and fold it into a nice cute little bow. Now all of these are just going to get attached to the hat with a little bit of hot glue. Now I could leave it there, but I did want to add just one more little touch, and that is one of my favorite things in the Spirited Away movies, the soot sprites. Now I had a few pom-poms left over, so I'm just going to use those as the soot sprites on the hat, and for the eyes I'm just going to cut out little circles out of the white felt and just use a dab of black acrylic paint to make the pupils in the eyes. And on they go with a little bit of hot glue. The very last thing we need is just something to be able to hold that hat onto our heads. So what I'm going to do now is just attach a small clip to the back of the hat, and now we are completely done. So let's see how it looks. That was it, you guys. So I hope you like the end product as much as I do. I think it is absolutely adorable. I love how the soot sprites add that little touch of extra that I was looking for. So I hope you enjoyed watching how I made this Fascinator hat. If you did, feel free to subscribe for more vintage, geeky, crafty goodness. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. I'll see you next time. So I made sure to make sure. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fandom Vintage. My name is Lily, and the sun just went away. I don't know why. Alrighty. Ooh. On the character No Face from the film Spirited. Hi. Thank you.